Alright, it's sophomore. This is gonna be take 3, take 4. I don't know. Try to get this thing done. Try this one more time. Thank y'all for joining us. Today I'm gonna be doing a series of video blogs on firearms, a lot of basic stuff, and I'm gonna be doing some other stuff for the A group, the private page, some things in particular. Those subjects we're going in depth, but starting out, we're just gonna be doing some light, talking points and just, I guess, educational blogs in a sense. That's what I'm gonna be doing today. Just for people, who want that basic understanding. Sometimes people send us messages and this and that, saying they trying to, they want to understand and learn more. So what I'm going to try to do is touch on a lot of stuff briefly, and myths, and other things related to guns, just so we can help those people out. All right. So I'm trying to get it started. Going to get into it, so I don't have to mess up any more videos, and hopefully this camera works. Like I said, it's freezing cold, y'all, even with this heater in here. But trying to bring y'all some material, some education. Right, what I got laid out here, a couple of some of your basic firearms. Some that may not be. When I say basic firearm, I mean types. We got a revolver, which this one may be a little bit unusual. This is a 45-70, 7-inch barrel, Magnum Research. It's not so much this gun in particular, but the fact that I want to show you, this is what a revolver is. This is a single action revolver. That means the cylinder here revolves. So in a sense, that's where the term, I guess, revolver came from. You have a fixed barrel. There's no movement on the barrel. Just you have a cylinder. It rotates every time you pull the trigger. And I've checked all these guns I did on the previous videos. I'm not going back through to do it now, but there are no rounds in the chamber. And even if it were, it wouldn't kill you. But this is a revolver, and normally you have 5 or 6 rounds on a revolver. There are a lot of guns now that have capacity more than that. I think 7, 8, depending on whether it's a 22, or I think I've seen some 357s that actually may have been 6 or 7 shots. But when you're looking at a revolver, this is what you're looking at. You're looking at a gun, generally a pistol, a small firearm that's designed pretty much to be held and shot by one hand, but people do use two. But it has a cylinder here that revolves. Every time you pull the trigger, you cock this hammer back, this cylinder turns. On most of your standard revolvers, the cylinder will open up, pop out the side, but this is a unique one in that it just has a little gate there that swings down, and you can check the cylinders. I don't know if you can see it. Yep, you can check the cylinder like that. And of course, I already checked it to make sure it's empty. But this is a single action, so you can't just see. If I try to, let me do it with my opposite hand, put the gun in the same direction. If I just try to pull the trigger, nothing happens, because it's a single action revolver. On most revolvers, double action, you'll pull the trigger and the hammer will cock at the same time. But since this being a single action, you actually have to cock the hammer back to get the gun to fire. You have to do that every single time, which makes it unique, and some people may not like that. But when you fire very powerful cartridges like this one, it's good to have that, because I've seen people shoot things like 500 Smith & Wesson, which is larger and more powerful, and they'll have a double fire from the recoil. And I've actually seen some videos where people came close to discharging their second round close there, to their head. So having a single action where you got to cock the hammer both times is actually a little bit better. Now, one of the problems I've seen, just talking on briefly, I've seen some people have this mistake. I'm not gonna say who, but a family member had this problem. I heard other people having this problem where she got a revolver. Somebody, I do firearms training, but she had went and bought a gun. She wasn't living in the same state with me at that time, and she bought a revolver. She let somebody talk her into buying a revolver before she called me. And she cocked the hammer one day, because whatever happened, something happened at night, and she got afraid and took her gun out. And I used to emphasize, that's one thing I can throw into this conversation. If you don't train with a firearm, you basically don't have one. You know what I mean? You just have something that you're going to give to somebody else, or something that's going to potentially be a danger to you. And that's how it was with her. So anyway, she cocked the hammer back and didn't know how to, safely, in a sense, disarm the gun. And when she finally confessed what happened to me, she said she just pulled the trigger to try to drop the hammer. And of course, if you pull the trigger and there's a lot around, and the gun fired. Luckily, that she didn't shoot herself and no one else, but she discharged a round into a closet in her home. So just silly stuff like that. But when you have a hammer caught back on a revolver, or any kind of firearm that has a hammer to it, what you have to do is, you have to do it as sensibly as possible. Some people they might stick their whole thumb in that action there. The thing is, you don't want the hammer to fall full power. So since you don't want the hammer to fall full power, you're going to have to pull the trigger, but you're going to have to keep the hammer from falling full power at the same time. So I try to do this on a video with gloved hands. I'm pulling the trigger, and that releases the hammer. Now I'm slowly gliding it down. Sometimes that may not be enough for some people. Some people may want an extra security where if it's cocked, they'll put their thumb right there, pull the trigger, which you couldn't see me pull the trigger, and just ease it down. And as it gets to your thumb, you just gently let it come down. That's how you, safely, in a sense, deactivate or disarm a revolver when it's cocked. One thing else I want to say about this, being that this is a very powerful handgun, you'll see people on videos, sometimes they'll take new shooters, ladies or women and stuff like that, included, and they'll take them out and give them something like this to shoot and tell them it's going to be okay, and somebody will be filming it and it's supposed to be funny, and when they're not used to the recoil, the gun to come back and hit them. That shit is not funny to me, and that's one of the stupidest things you can do, especially if you're trying to introduce people to firearms that are definitely dissuade people from wanting to shoot. So that's not cool. I generally tell, you go to a lot of gun stores, they always recommend, females get revolvers because they figure it's idiot proof, and in a sense by saying that, they're figuring you're an idiot. Or some people just figure women not going to train that much, they're going to buy something and just put it up. And a lot of people do, not just women and men buy firearms. They may go to the range once and they put them up. And that's no good, because if you don't train with it, you don't, just like not having it, you're not going to be able to function it and perform with it like you think you're going to be able to do. Everybody in their mind thinks that they can do things that they really can't do. And it's when when that time of testing comes that they reach those failure points immediately, and sometimes that can be very expensive. So I don't recommend revolvers for ladies. I recommend, if you're going to buy a firearm, whether you're a female or a male, that whatever you buy, you buy the gun that fits, that fits you right. And whatever you buy, even if you buy a revolver, you need to train with it. You need to train with it. A lot of revolvers have very heavy triggers, being that they're double action. And when you pull the trigger, you got to cock the hammer. There are a few revolvers out there that actually have very light triggers that are very easy on you. But a lot of times you go to the range with people, male or female, most people won't get through a 50-round box of ammunition, because they'll be fatigued from shooting just a heavy trigger pull. People don't think about that. They won't get through even one box of ammunition, or you really have to push them. So that's not good. Don't. This is not something that you want to kind of get into just to kind of just as an empty solution to a problem. Like a lot of people, my man Randy always joking and saying that a lot of people don't decide to buy firearms until something's happened to them. And it's always an afterthought. When my house was broken into, now I feel I need a firearm. When my neighbor's home was broken into, now I need a firearm. Or somebody scared me one night and I thought they were going to try to rob me, and now I want to buy a gun. Then, people are kind of threat responsive. Once something happens or after something happens, then they want to respond to it when it's no longer, valid. And then they may go buy something, then they'll go through the whole, once the fear and the whole energy, the negative energy of that situation dies down, or they kind of put it in the back burner, on the back burner of their mind, then they'll put the interest in the firearm there too, and therefore they'll feel like they're prepared and they're not prepared, and so it'll be what it is. And like I say, shooting is a perishable skill. If you don't do it on a regular basis, your ability to do it well is going to drop, exponentially. So it's something that you got to at least do once a month to kind of keep your skills honed, and that's at the very minimum. You really want to be a good shooter, 2-3 times a month. Some people once a week, twice a week. People have different schedules. A lot of people not into guns like that. That's understandable. But if you are, if you really want to be proficient, you have to get out there and train, and you have to, like everything else, you have to maintain a schedule of operations. So that's going to conclude this first video.